And they're like, when do we ask for the sale? Like, you don't. That's exactly what you don't do. They're expecting that. If you've heard nothing else in this podcast and you're like, what's the one thing? It's like, personalize every piece of communication that you can. And even when you can't, find a way to show your face. You know, I can learn more about you in one question than probably some of your best friends for the last 20 years.
What would that question be? Let's put it to the test.
I've got a lot of, should we dive into a couple questions?
Oh my God, let's do it.
Hey creators, it's your hosts, Natalie and Yasmin, and you're listening to the Course Creation Podcast. We'll talk business, building digital empires, and how to create passive income to start living a life you love. We are here to empower those of you who are thinking of starting your own course and to support those who are already well on their way to success. We've built a 7-figure media agency on unique storytelling, and now we're here to share our story in the course creation world, and more importantly, to hear yours. We are committed to creating a space for learning and a space for diversity and inclusion. Now let's get the show started. 3, 2, 1, action. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Course Creation Podcast. We're here today with our guest, Karan Nijwahan, founder of Jube, which stands for Just Be. We're so excited to have you on the show today to chat about the magic of relationships and the importance of building trust and creating personalized, genuine touch points with your audience. Let's dive right in. And Karan, tell our listeners about Jube.
Sure. So I think any good story starts with what brought me to today, or what brought you all to today. And I won't go into crazy details because I listen to a ton of podcasts and I like the meat and the value kind of right away. But I think it's important to know kind of where this began. And it's very simple. Think about a quote that you heard at some point in your life that really resonated with you. And for me, one of those quotes was, you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And at the time when I looked at my 5 people, I was in a different city, different province, had a completely different life, different job. And I looked at my 5 people and I said, oh shit, like something's really got to change here. The goals and ambitions that I thought I have do not really line up with the people that I'm hanging out with. And being a naive 20-year-old, or probably a 25-year-old, I started going to networking events because I was like, hey, that's where I'm going to meet people that are going to help me level up. And they're going to help me learn about business and like marketing and like cool stuff that I knew nothing about. And think about the last networking event you went to. That's exactly how this went. It was name cards, name tags. What do you do for a living? What do you do? Let's do an awkward icebreaker activity. Let's pretend like we actually want to get to know each other, but really like, here's my business card. Call me when you need me. And I went from one event to a second to a third, and every networking event was the exact same. And I said, never again will I go to a traditional networking event again. And I started hosting my own events in the form of dinners, where I would just handpick people that I wanted to get to know better, people that I didn't know, and bring them out for a night of dinner. And you know what? I did think all the conversations were going to be about like the sexy stuff that you talk about, like lead magnets, marketing, and like what's the quickest way to get a customer, and like the stuff that excites us. But all the conversations, given that they were all business owners, were about finance issues. My relationship sucks with blank, whether it's a business partner or a family or a friend. I have sleepless nights. I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And just really meaningful conversations that kind of caught me off guard, to be honest. I was really expecting the conversations to be about like the business sexiness, but it wasn't at all. It was about like depth, about their personal lives, because all of us, whether we're business owners or not, our personal lives really translates to everything else that we do. And from that day, every month I started hosting a dinner. And by 6 months, I had a wait list of people that wanted to come to dinner. I was like, whoa, if I could turn this into a business around dinner, how cool would that be? And very quickly, I turned it into a subscription-based business where people would come once a month to join me at dinner, and we would just talk about all things life. And 10% of the chats were about business, and 90% were about life. Now, fast forward when I left Newfoundland and came to Toronto, same thing. I tried to build my network in Toronto, like one of the biggest cities in Canada, and I went to networking events, and they were just as bad. It didn't matter what the city was; they were just as bad. They were all about like business cards and name tags, and I wanted to avoid that, so I started hosting dinners here. And I've been hosting dinners and events and workshops here for the last 3 years. And last year was really the birth of Jube, which stands for Just Be, when I left my 9-to-5 job. And it's really on the premise of you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And every person has value based on who they are as a person, not as what their title is.
So, Greg, we talked about, how important networking is. And really what we want to get into is, how do you build that network? How do you build that relationship with them? Word of mouth is really, really important, but beyond that is, trying to expand that network on a digital platform. How did you go about doing that?
I think, we think about digital marketing as kind of like being in the air or in the cloud or social media. But if we remove the word digital just for a second, it's still just marketing, right? So whether it's in person or whether it's digitally online, the fact of the matter is that you're still building a relationship with someone. And building relationships with somebody online now has become more difficult than ever before. Obviously, there's a sea of noise. Everyone's got an ad budget. If you can't donate to the Zuckerberg fund, everything is organic. So, and like organic reach, think about the organic posts you make, like 30% of them get seen. The other 70% are lost because paid traffic kind of dominates that. So I never wanted to compete with somebody else digitally from a marketing standpoint, because somebody will always have a higher budget than you. Somebody will always have more resources than you. I said, how can I build relationships at scale, but also intimately? And something that's hard to scale is face-to-face time with somebody. And like you, and like many of the listeners here, you probably get emails and meetings every week saying, hey, can we pick your brain? Hey, so-and-so introduced us. Can we just chat for 30 minutes? And that happens a lot. And it's great. But if you look at your last 30 days and look at every single calendar meeting you had, you got to ask yourself, what meetings kind of moved your needle and your mission forward? So what I decided to do was all of those meeting invites that I was getting, I would just invite those people to one dinner. And right away, I already had like a list of people. One of the biggest reasons people don't want to host a dinner is they say, I don't know who to invite or who will actually come. Mm-hmm. And the easiest way to do that is like a 5-person dinner with you, 2 people you know, and get them to bring 1 person each. And already you're at this 5-person amazing intimate gathering within 5 minutes. And so my approach to relationships was always over how can I duplicate or how can I speed in a bunch of emails and phone calls and just get to the heart of who the person is and see very quickly whether or not we're going to be aligned. Because you know within 30 seconds of meeting someone if they're going to be around in your life for a long time. At least that's how I feel, just based on like their smile, their vibe, what are their values, what they're after. And then I just go into really meaningful, deep questions that tell me a lot about you that has nothing to do with how big is your email list or how many downloads is this podcast going to get. Like that stuff is so secondary, but it's those numbers that are sometimes shiny and bright. And we go after those numbers because it's like, hey, look, we got this many downloads or this many subscribers, or we have this many clients and we're international, and all that stuff is awesome to some degree. But if I can't have dinner with you for 3 hours, do I really want to invest in this relationship any further? And I don't mean that in a negative way, honestly. I just mean like how many, like to speed up a relationship, any face-to-face interaction, you guys would probably agree, speeds hundreds of emails or phone calls. So my approach to digital marketing was, how do I still build that human-to-human connection and forget about the transaction and focus on the relationship? And for me, dinners were always either, hey, let me just take care of the bill, or hey, dinner's $80, like come join, it's gonna be a group of us, but I'm handpicking people, so like no one's gonna pitch you. We have a no business card policy, a no name tag policy, hugs only, no handshakes. And very quickly, if people start to feel like they're a part of your tribe, then every interaction you have with them, it's literally hugs only. Mm-hmm. And when you build a relationship like that, there's none of this, there's no motives, there's no hidden agenda. It's like, whoa, that's a cool person that I want to get to know better.
I love everything you're saying. And everything you're saying, I'm trying to listen from a place of how do I apply that to my digital relationships, right? Because honestly, we are recording this in the middle of a pandemic. So anyone who's listening and is listening to this currently or listening to this from the future, hopefully we're all doing okay and everything's back to normal. But if it's not, and we're trying to create genuine relationships online in situations where we can't gather for dinners, where we can't give real hugs, how have you personally pivoted your philosophy?
So I agree. You can't replicate virtually what a hug does or what a handshake does, or just like a good hug can tell you a lot about a person. And you can't replicate that from a fist bump or an elbow bump virtually. What you can do is still get away from the voice notes and the emails. So 7% of communication is verbal. And think about how much of our day-to-days relies on just email, right? When you're sending emails or texts, so much information can be misinterpreted or misconstrued, or the tone, the tonality, there's no voice, it's just written text. Hey, Yasmin, come to my event. Cool. hey, Yasmin, what's up? My name is Karan. I noticed you're doing this. You should come to my event. And it's like 3 days away, right? Really big difference. So I leverage a lot of audio notes, a lot of video emails. I send hundreds of video emails every single week. Do they take time? Absolutely. But they take maybe 30% more time than an email would. And right away, a person gets to see me. They get to realize that I haven't shaved yet today. They get to see my bookshelf in the background. They get to see that I have a TV. Like, you learn so much about a person when they can see you on camera. So to speeding up my relationship, and this can be done at scale, it doesn't need to be, I say there's personalized and then there's hyper-personalized. Hyper-personalized has anything to do with, if you're sending a video, you actually say the person's name. As soon as they hear their name, they know this video cannot be for anyone else. But if you say, hey friends, what's up? That could be broadcasted to multiple people, but even that is a step above an email. So what I've had to do from a pivot standpoint is I literally canceled my first ever event in 3 years back in March when this started to become a thing. And I was like, oh my God, business is done. I'm screwed. Like, this is it. This is how I leave. And I was like, I wonder if a virtual dinner could replicate that human to human connection. And so I held my first virtual dinner, and then I held a second one. Then I have one tomorrow with 27 people. I just planned a 100-day virtual event last night for June. And with breakout rooms, with the right context and the right container, you can achieve intimacy virtually that you once had in person. And the way you do that, and I think that here's where the biggest opportunity for people is that if you set the container and the context of the relationship up front and state that, like, this is a no business card thing, this is no pitching, we're here to have deep, meaningful conversations. If that's not you, awesome, this probably isn't the right room for you. And I spent a lot of my life, especially like my business life now, saying yes to people because I thought I needed to please everyone. And mentally, I was like, okay, if I can fill the room, it doesn't matter if it's the right people. And then I found myself conflicting, saying, no. If you're the average of the 5 people, then every seat truly matters, whether it's virtually or in person. So scaling relationships virtually for me now, again, it's still about how do we host online events, coffee meetups that don't feel like Zoom meetings, virtual experiences that don't feel like a conference. How do we make it interactive? And I found ways to make every meeting feel like more of an experience, whether it's sending people in the mail before the event or the dinner, whether it's showing them how to dress up for the dinner that's about to happen, whether it's getting them to do an exercise live on the screen and sharing their screen, whether it's implementing music into some of my sessions. So it's still about how can we tackle like those 5 senses, like the sight, sound, I don't know the other ones, but how do I make it feel like you guys are literally in the room with me? And for me, it's in-person dinners have now just been completely kind of put to the side given where we are. And virtual events are becoming my new thing, which 90 days ago, I would have said no way.
That's amazing. I kind of want to go back to something that you just said. And I feel like it's really important for anybody who's selling anything online or trying to create a course online. You said every seat matters. And if we were going to apply that to the digital world and to our digital community, how can we bring across that human connection with the thought in mind, every seat matters? When I'm speaking to people, I can't necessarily personalize it because I'm trying to build a community. How do I speak to everybody but still maintain that authentic human connection?
So and I'm going to take this a couple different ways and let me know which way is landing and which way is not. I do agree. I think every seat matters. And I treat every person that comes into my world as if like we're meeting them for the first time. So whether someone comes into my closed Facebook group, whether somebody subscribes to my email, whether somebody messages me a DM on Instagram, my automatic go-to is how do I send this person a video email right away, or a video message on Instagram, or audio notes on Instagram. We talked a couple of weeks ago or last week about Mike and how he didn't know there was an audio feature. And many people still don't know, Instagram has millions, if not a billion users, but every seat does matter. And the way to make them feel like they matter, honestly, if you just say their name, that's all you need to do. Hey, Yasmin, I'm so grateful for you to be here. Let me know how I can best support you. Whereas most people are like, hey, we're so glad we're here. Let me tell you why my business is the best. And this is why you should do business with us. Instead, you just flip that script, make it all about them, figure out where are they. And, friends of mine have always said to me, like, meet people where they are, not where you think they are. And oftentimes I've made the mistake of assuming that although we're meeting for the first time, I've got a whole bunch of history that I need to get you up to speed so you know who I am and what I value. And we need to learn about our customers and our clients and our community members the exact same way. And, we talked about digital courses a little bit, but another belief or mistake that I've seen is that we build a product or a service or a digital course, and then we try to sell it. And we're like, where is everyone? Like, what do you mean? What? This is going to be a game changer. Like, my course is the best thing out there. This is going to be the one. And then we go and get sales or try to, and it's crickets. And it's not that it's not the right approach. It's just, imagine building that same product or service, but every step of the way leading up to it, you had feedback, or you had community, you had an extra set of eyes, whether it's a closed Facebook group, whether it's your email list. And one of my favorite questions is like, hey, I'm thinking about launching blank, or I'm thinking about doing a blank. If I did blank, would you be interested? That's it. I don't really even ask for much of a commitment, even a like or a comment. And those people that like or comment, I literally send audio and video notes to every single person that not just comments, but even likes my post. And the ones that share, I try to call them. Because a share is like, oh my God, social proof, right? A like is like easy. A comment is like, whoa, I respect that. A share is like, oh my God, this person is like hot, hot, hot. Let's find a way to get on the phone. So I don't know if I answered that question.
You absolutely did. And I feel like there's so much that we could take from what you just said. Anybody who's necessarily just starting or fresh, or at least like somebody like Yasmin and I would say really green in the course creation world. What I just took from what you said is this, to going that extra step of just sending video messages to anybody who follows you or anybody who's subscribed or anybody who's interested. We may not be able to do that when we reach the hundreds or thousands of people, but in the beginning, when you're building a community, that could make all the difference. And I think we should definitely try it. And then
one thing I will say, you're right. We may not be able to hyper personalize when it gets to the hundreds or the thousands, but think about something as simple as your email list, right? Somebody subscribes to your email list. Generally, they get some sort of a confirmation email saying, click here to confirm. And if you've already got that double opt-in, then maybe they just get the first email in your sequence. Hey, this is who we are. Let us tell you about our business. This is our founding story. This is who we are. But it's all about us still as the brand, right? And all about the company. If you replace that first email with just a video of you two as an example, hey, what's up? My name's Yasmin. My name's Natalie. Give us 30 seconds and we're going to explain why this is the best decision you've made today.
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
Right away, I'm like, oh my God, there's actually people behind this email. Like this wasn't just, everyone knows it's automated, and anyone who tries to pretend like their webinars are live when they're truly automated is just like only fooling themselves, because people are way too smart now. But having video emails, even in your email sequences, I tell you, it has been a game changer for my business for many reasons, not just like open rates and like conversions, but the amount of responses I get saying, you took the time to do this for me.
Yeah.
And in some situations, talk about like cold prospecting. When you send somebody a cold video email, I've sent 60-second cold video emails to people and gotten 10-minute video responses back. And that blows my mind. Someone said, holy crap, you took the time to do this for me. I don't even know what this tool is, but I'm going to download it and test it out on you as like my guinea pig. And I'm blown away by that. And people will tell you their life story. They'll tell you so much more than any opt-in. And like, if there's one thing, if you've heard nothing else in this podcast and you're like, what's the one thing? It's like, personalize every piece of communication that you can. And even when you can't, find a way to show your face.
Definitely. And what I'm getting is obviously feeling heard, feeling understood is so important when you're in conversation with somebody, and being able to reciprocate that is just as important to create a safe space to be able to talk and to speak. So you're building trust, you're building that loyalty. And so when we talk about interacting and engaging with our community or audience, that listening for us is really extremely important. There's a lot that we can also gain from that audience in terms of understanding, being tuned in and understanding what makes them happy, like their needs and desires, and really understand their pain points in order to be able to support them and cater to them. And I think that's a huge takeaway. The more personalization you bring to the table, the more you're actually learning and doing your research and due diligence to understand your audience and how you can now cater your programming to meet their needs.
Yeah, I'll say two things here that I think are going to be really valuable to this part of the conversation. So the first is that, and this is kind of it's a bit of a cliche, but I believe it to be true. It's like people buy from you when they feel understood, not when they understand you, right? There's a big difference in that statement. It's like, we as the business, yeah, we need to understand our consumer, but they will only buy when they actually feel like you're listening. And the second thing I want to share with you is, I've talked to a lot of business owners who are like, video, like, what do you mean? I can't do that, or this can't be me, or what about lighting and audio and like all of this stuff that stops us always from taking action. But like, we worked with a beauty company in Toronto called Evio, and what they started doing, not that they do this all the time, but they started sending video emails whenever somebody bought a beauty product on their website. And it would just be sometimes a 30-second, sometimes a 60-second, in certain cases, 10 minutes. And they had users buy like within a minute right away after getting the video, almost like rebuying, just to be like, oh my God, you did this. They've gotten responses like, whoa, we've never gotten emails like this from a company. And in the best story that I have around that is Brandy, the founder, who's my girlfriend, who's sitting right there, sent them a video email. But here's what she did. She went onto the person's profile, found out on Instagram that their dog had just died, like not even 24 hours ago. And this person now just bought a beauty product for whatever reason. Brandy sent them like a 10-minute email saying, oh my God, like this must be horrible. We have a 13-year-old pug, and like, we know what family feels like. And April, our pug, is like family to us. And you must be going through so much right now. And Brandy sent them like a 10-minute video. And that person responded saying, first of all, like, holy shit, this was insane. How did you know that? And like, thank you so much. Like, this is such a hard time for me. But what was crazy was that she said to Brandy, she's like, my friends haven't even reached out to me yet.
Yeah. Wow.
And that, to me, talk about like customer for life. That's something no ad, no funnel, no SEO will ever duplicate. And I will fight that until my last day.
What I'm hearing from what you're saying is, regardless of what method of connection you choose, just be there for the person in whatever shape, matter, or form. You know what I mean? Like, really understand where they're coming from, get to know who they are, and be there in the most human way that you can be. And I think a lot of the times we get lost in that wheel of, I'm just trying, like, I'm on the hamster wheel trying to get to my goal, instead of actually like taking a step back and being like, well, who is my audience? Who are my connections? Who is my community, and why? And can I be proud of that? And I feel like if I can relate it back to, what Yasmin and I went through in the beginning of this pandemic, we had a thriving business for 10 years that depended on, human to human, connection every single day. And then all of a sudden we're in quarantine and we can't do that anymore. And we're like, okay, well, what does that really mean for our community? Like, how can we stay supported in the middle of this? And we realized that outside of, being in the same room with a person, we actually had no business. So that's kind of like shifting what everybody advocates on its head. It's like, now we're saying, not only do you have to have community in person, but you have to have community online. You have to have community when you're not in the same room with a person. You have to leave an impression on somebody in a way that you can stay connected, even if you're not in the same room. So It's like, and I'm sure that's not unique to just us. Everybody's going through that right now.
I totally agree. And think about whether you're selling a phone, a coffee mug, or a service for media. Sometimes the product and service, we focus so much on it, but we forget that like how we make the other person feel on the other end is the only thing they care about. They don't care about how amazing our product is or the benefits and features or what it's going to do in the first 30 days. They just want to feel like they're being helped in the way that they want to be helped. For example, like I grew up overweight, and in grade 6, I had such a traumatic experience where I went to this pool, it was a field trip, and all the other kids made fun of me from different schools. That happened in grade 6. From grade 6, I don't know how old I was, maybe 7 or 8, to 26. And although I had started working out, I had started like getting in shape, I was still that same, like mentally, I still felt like there's no way I can learn how to swim. So up until 26, I didn't learn how to swim because of that moment in grade 6. It had nothing to do with my physical body. It had everything to do with that mental moment and what happened and how I felt in that moment. And trust me, I had hundreds of people dude, you got to learn how to swim. It's a key life skill. You got to learn how to, I'm like, I get it. I know the importance of it, but like, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And then until it was my decision, honestly, when I made the decision that I had to learn, within 2 hours, I signed up for lessons. Now, granted, I called the YMCA. I said, I'm looking for lessons. They said, sure, how old's your kid? We had a different conversation then because it was adult lessons. And I learned how to swim, but ultimately it was my decision, right? So I think sometimes like businesses, we try to we give too much information, and we try to like, I hate to say this word, but we jam information down their throat to like, hey, look, pick us. We're the best fit. This is why. This is our history. This is our portfolio. Check out our logos. Like all of this stuff from a brand perspective, which is super powerful stuff. None of that matters though. If that person doesn't feel like they can have a dinner with you or coffee with you or have a face-to-face where you're not actually after their wallet just for a minute, like none of that other stuff matters.
Yeah. It's like, you just need to consider that you don't know where that person is in their life and what moment they are in that.
But from the power of like asking deep questions, you know, I can learn more about you in one question than probably some of your best friends for the last 20 years.
What would that question be? Let's put it to the test.
I've got a lot of, should we dive into a couple of questions?
Oh my God, let's do it.
Give it, if we have time, absolutely.
Yeah, let's do it.
Some of my favorite questions are, as you've gotten older, what's become more important in your life and what's become less important? And as somebody answers that question, if they say what's become more important, it's like Rolexes and like suits and first class tickets. And I'm like, whoa, we are so not aligned. But if they say like, you know, family and books and like outdoor time and nature and meditation, I'm like, oh my God, friend for life. Thank you. There you are. So that's one of my favorite questions. Another favorite question is like, what memory instantly makes you smile? And it kind of brings people back to like their wedding or their first dog or their first something or like skydiving, things like that. How do you display kindness to others? How do you think the world's gonna be different a year from today? If you could redo one moment, what would that be? Who's one person that you need to say I'm sorry to that you haven't yet? Who's one person you're actually grateful for, but they don't hear it enough? And literally 70 to 80% of my dinners have tears because of conversations like that. And it's not because of, it's actually the opposite. It's like, it's the safest space for someone, or at least they feel like it's such a safe space. But again, I want to just relate it back to like setting that context and that container up front is so important, because walking into a room and just expecting networking to happen doesn't happen. It becomes super awkward. No one knows what to do. And there's only so many times you can look at your glass. Like, yeah, cool. I still have a drink. Like, we get it.
I love that. I feel like, again, everything you're saying, I'm trying to like soak it in and relate it somehow to creating, you know, a network online. And I can totally see how even any of those powerful questions could be related back to anybody who I'm trying to build in my network. You know, like it's okay to reach out to somebody and ask them those kinds of questions in an effort to get to know them.
Yeah. And if you get to know your clients to that depth, you build such an amazing connection that it's not going to matter if you're more expensive. It's not going to matter if there's other people proposing or sending proposals. Like, they've got that connection with you. A lot of people can try to duplicate what you have, but they'll never be able to duplicate your relationship. It's just not possible. Like, people will invest more than you in ad spend and in funnels and like that stuff to acquire people. But if you can have like your retention rates be so high that your retention customers become like your word of mouth marketing, like, talk about a business that like you can't replicate those relationships. And for you guys in particular, your world has been completely shaken up, right? You relied on such an in-person presence, and now you're digital. You're like, what do we do? Because we need to be face-to-face. You absolutely should consider, I'm not going to say you should, because you shouldn't do anything you don't want to. You absolutely should consider, I invite you to consider hosting a virtual dinner for 10 or 15 of your top clients. And the conversation has nothing to do with your business. It's got everything to do with where they are, how they're doing, how are they coping, where do they feel the most stuck right now, asking them like what memory instantly makes them smile, like questions like that, and facilitating this amazing night with breakout rooms and activities and like anti-icebreaker questions where they are like, oh my God, not only are we meeting these two amazing women, but we're also now building, or we're meeting their tribe. And then you start to form this community of your own. And then next dinner, you ask them to bring one person. And then all of a sudden your dinner is now doubled. One person, doubled. Like, literally all of my clients, 95% of my clients have come from a dinner. referrals, word of mouth, dinner, referrals, word of mouth, dinner, referrals. If you told me right now, Karan, start running Facebook ads, I would be like, how? Like, how do I even do it? Like, I know the basics, but like, I'm just like donating money. I'm just like shooting money blindly into something that may or may not work. Whereas like any relationship investment you can make is like beyond worth it.
I'm going to get
And I would
Yasmin
say, on that, I'm just getting going, I feel.
No, keep going. This is amazing.
Hosting dinners for like the people who are on the fence of working with you, but are not quite there yet. Another huge opportunity. I've worked with companies and organizations that like, they've got like tiered membership pricing, call it, for lack of a better word, like bronze, silver, gold. And they want people to jump from bronze to silver. Let's do a dinner. They want people to jump from silver to let's do a dinner, right? Because a dinner is not about, and they're like, but when do we ask for the sale? Like, you don't. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you don't do. They're expecting that. So imagine them coming into your world, not being pitched. Imagine what that's going to do for your relationship 90 days from now. Like, but we didn't ask for the sale. Exactly. Because it becomes their idea within the next 30, 60, 90 days.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this is a great tactic or strategy to use when you have a Facebook group, for example, and you have people who are joining it and you don't really know them, but it's a great icebreaker activity, which is fun and a great way to get to know them and for them to get to know you, instead of just bombarding them with information or just having conversations online, to just take it offline online through these virtual dinners. So tell us a little bit about your Facebook group. Is it private? Is it public? Like, how does it work? How obviously these virtual dinners are amazing, but beyond that, like, how do you stay connected with them?
Yeah, so I created a Facebook group, really, not that anyone needs another Facebook group, because you are probably a part of 10 or 30 right now. I'm probably a part of 10 or 30, but there's like 4 that I actually check. There's 4 that I really care about, and the other 15 or 20 are kind of just in the background. My purpose for the Facebook group is that I have one lead magnet. It's like, sign up if you want to come to a dinner. And now I'm just revamping my website. And I put in like an application form, but like, I don't have lead magnets really. Like, I don't have something for you to download for me to capture your email. So for me, if I had people coming to a dinner now virtually, I'm saying, hey, do you have more friends that are entrepreneurs or business owners that would benefit from a dinner not being pitched? Invite them to this group. And all of a sudden the group goes from like 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. So my entry point really into like who I am as a person is really my website, my Instagram, and my Facebook group. So any person or any business could benefit from having a private Facebook group. The key is though, so it is private, number one. Secondly, if somebody makes a post in the group, I have to approve it. And you might have mixed feelings about that. Like, well, it's not open then, like people can't post publicly. And trust me, I get all of that. But again, for me, having that container of like safety and vulnerability and intimacy is so important to my brand that I can't have someone post saying, hey, the world sucks, everyone's out to get me, what do I do? That's a great question in a different context, in a different environment, maybe at a dinner, but just having like a free-for-all, like I'm in a Facebook group that's somebody else's group, that's an amazing group, but they're having between 30 and 50 posts a day of just like spam or like, buy this, hey, I'm hosting this event, come. It just becomes this all about me type of group. And I've actually, although there's less engagement in my group from a posting standpoint because it has to be approved, I would argue that the relationships are actually deeper because I can make one post and have someone sign up for a dinner or my summit or something like that, because there's people that are actually invested. And again, the other thing I'll say, and I said this earlier, but I think is really important, and this is a little bit hard at scale, but any person that engages with your post, like, comment, or share, should be getting a private DM from you. It doesn't have to be video, but even just a private DM with their name, just saying, thanks for supporting, or how can I best support you? Or tell me about your business or your life or where you're at. Because we focus on the people that comment all the time. We never focus on the people that just like.
Oh, it makes such a difference.
I know, trust me, it makes such a difference.
I know there's a couple of workout programs that I'm doing, and every once in a while I'll be like, that was an awesome workout, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers and have, no expectation to get anything in return. But I've received those DMs sometimes where they acknowledge my comment, and I'm blown away because I'm like, you have hundreds of thousands of followers, and you are taking the time, and it makes me think, I'm like, is that the person? Is that a team behind it? It really doesn't matter, but it's the fact that I was heard. And again, they acknowledged me, and it makes me feel good. It makes me want to support them and continue to support them. So, and tell my friends about it, which is pretty cool.
Which is like, talk about the best marketing, you, for them. Right. And like, I've tagged people on Instagram that've got like millions of like Calm, the meditation app that I use every single day. I always share their daily quote after my 10-minute meditation, and I tag them sometimes, and then they engage. They were like, have a great meditation today. I'm like, oh my God, you could have engaged with any single other person today, but you chose me. I feel so blessed. And then I blast Calm every single day on my Instagram and share their daily quote as like a social trigger for me to just share it. And not that they've once asked me, it's like Calm has made such a difference in my life from a meditation standpoint that I just share their daily quotes as inspiration. And sometimes people respond, other times they don't. It's not about that. It's like, I've now become one of their biggest advocates. And like, how many times do I like show people on Instagram, like, look, I'm on a 45-day streak of Calm, right? It's got nothing to do with Calm. It's like me trying to social proof some of my own stuff, but I'm becoming the brand's like biggest advocate.
That's beautiful. Building brand advocates. Like that's amazing. And I feel like everything that I'm hearing you say is part of it is allowing people to have access to you. You know, whether it be like sliding in the DMs with a video or doing a virtual dinner where we're not selling, we're just getting to know each other. It's about access. And I think that's so important for anyone who is, you know, trying to sell any business online or a course online. If you're going to go out and be an expert, then you need to allow people to have access to you to ask the questions or to learn more about you or to feel comfortable with you if you're going to be, you know, teaching them anything. So I love everything you're saying. I feel like it's so on point for anyone building an online business. I kind of want to take it back to the very beginning. So again, going back to our story, where do you start? Like, you have successfully built all of these amazing dinners where people now, you know, they want to come to your dinners, they want to come to your virtual dinners. Where did you start? How do you do that? And how can we do that with the perspective of doing it online? So like, for example, Yasmin and I are creating this video editing 101 course. You know, for the past 10 years, we've hustled for our clients. We've done everything for our clients. We've never been front facing in front of the camera, you know, trying to put ourselves out there, make human connections and build a community. We're doing that now, thankfully, but we actually don't have any followers. We don't have a community. We don't have people who know about us. So where does somebody start?
You guys have been in business for 10 years, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got a community.
We do have a community, and I wanted to acknowledge that a little bit. I think that, you know, we need to acknowledge ourselves for having a community. It's just we haven't been as active to be out there, to put ourselves out there. But you know, our clients, our network, that's our community.
That's your community. And there's so much to what you just said. I feel like this is another episode, but there's so much more to what you just said. It's this like belief of like, I can't, or like, why now? Or I'm too late in the game, or other people have already built a community. And like, I spent a lot of my life focused on the past and focused on the future and not on the present. And that's not helpful, right? Thinking about the mistakes or the should haves or could haves or what ifs, and then thinking about like, what do my next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years look like? I spent a lot of time in those two worlds. And I found that I wasn't just focused on the day-to-day action. And I did find myself comparing myself to other people with tribes and networks and communities and thinking, oh my God, how did they do this? Like, I'll never get there. I'll never get there. And then I held my first dinner and I was like, what if no one comes? What if what if the conversations suck? But you know what? I did the thing. I just did the thing. I just did the dinner. And I think a lot of business owners, they can't see step 2 and 3, so they don't take step 1. It's the quickest way to talk yourself out of an idea. It's the quickest way not to pursue what you feel is right to you. Saying the words, I don't have community, even though you might have clientele for the last 10 years, you're already telling yourself like, I'm starting from zero. You're not. You've actually got, I would actually argue you've got a bigger community than me and you just don't even realize it. You're probably sitting on like, you know, there's this story of in Think and Grow Rich of the guy who stops 3 feet from gold and he turned around. And I think every day we're just digging and digging and digging and we're like chasing this thing. And it's like right there. And I do it too. I'm like, I know it's right there, but I just can't do it today. It's been a hard day. or I can't plan my next dinner. I just can't. Or who's going to show up? And then every dinner I do, I'm like, I did it. Every event I've hosted, I did it. Last night, I literally had the idea. I said, hey, I should host a one-day virtual event. And I posted it on Instagram. One person said, yes, you should do it. Within 2 hours, I had a landing page, a sales page ready to go. And as of today, like 10 people are already signed up. And I am committed to getting 100 people to show up at this thing because I think it'll be powerful with 100 people and breakout rooms and all that stuff. And I'll get speakers. I'll worry about that stuff later. The speakers, the agenda, the logistics. I still have 30 days. Mm-hmm. I just needed to say to myself, hey man, this feels right to you. Just do it. And I realized that every time I say like, just do it, it happens. Right? The issue is that sometimes I talk myself out of not doing it. And then I found myself stuck in this, like, oh, I should have, or I could have, or I would have. So I think how to start is like, start with who's around you right now, your clients, your past clients, getting even like a long distance family member on one of your dinners to like break the ice or catch up. So if you're thinking dinners or Facebook group, it always starts with that one, right? Who's the first person I can get? Then who are the next three? Then who are the next three? And who are the next three? Mm-hmm. And I've never thought about growing like my email list or my Facebook group in groups of like 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50, because I don't run ads. I don't run traffic. So for me, it's literally been by like word of mouth. Who do you know that would fit this tribe? And referrals are something that you guys probably take very seriously too. You know that if you get a referral, all of a sudden that person goes from like here to the person who knows you to like here, like they know you so well and you know them just from the referral. So I think the how to start is like, do your first blank. Insert whatever you want in that blank. Your first dinner, your first Facebook group, your first coffee virtual hangout with your clients, your first virtual team meeting, not talking about work for once, your first virtual get together that's got everything to do with emotion and no business talk allowed. Your first something is going to be amazing. Your 100th of that same thing is going to be 100 times better, right? But don't compare yourself to like my community or my tribe or your community and your tribe, because like it's not even about that. That's such a backwards conversation. It's all about how can you serve the people in your life. And again, like I have been mentally like the victim of like self-limiting beliefs all the time. Like, I can't do this. How am I going to leave this 9 to 5? I don't have anything. Like, how am I going to do my first dinner? I don't know anyone. I literally moved from a province of 500,000 people to a city of like 3 bajillion in Toronto. I was like, how do I meet people? I know, dinners. One dinner turned into 2, and like I'm at probably in the 150 to 170 range. Then I just started doing them for companies. Companies were like, hey, can you do dinners? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll figure it out later. Right?
That's
so
amazing.
Like saying that yes sometimes will do you more good than saying no, I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. I know Yasmin has a quick
I could talk about this for hours.
Yeah. I've been reflecting on a couple of things as I'm listening to everything that you have to say, and it's really empowering because I feel like everybody has their genius, whatever that is. And when it comes to content creation, course creation, the reason why anyone embarks on that journey is because they have knowledge and they know they have something to offer. Now, whether or not they take action, that's going to be completely dependent on all the things that go through your head, all the, the fears, am I going to be successful, all the questions that you answer. But at the same time, a great starting point is literally the people who know you best and who are around you. So whether that be your family, your friends, your colleagues, or, potentially your customers and clients who you've worked with for a decade or whatnot, or even 5 years or 2 years, they know you best. And they're going to be the biggest champions for you. They're going to be the biggest supporters for you. So the best starting point is actually to give yourself that extra courage is potentially having those conversations of, hey, so-and-so, we've been working together for X amount of years. We've been able to help your brand accomplish X, Y, and Z. And now we are embarking on this journey. What kind of feedback do you have to provide me in terms of what you think would be useful in what we're creating? How could you take advantage of what we're creating? Doing market research in that sense. But at the same time, it's also building that confidence in yourself and again, listening to the people who are around you. So there's so many ways I think that content creators and online course creators can really, just immerse themselves in the process without even realizing it.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten to like a really great part, and the conclusion that I'm sort of getting from all of this is that just do whatever it is, just start doing, and then sort of have your blinders on and then no attachment. Because I know for me, whenever I start doing something, if it doesn't like work out the way that I thought it would work out, then there's like a whole defeat process that I go through, and that then affects the way that I take more action going forward. So again, like if I had to again deduce this down to a conclusion, I would say do, right? And then I would say no attachment. Just do with no attachment, And it's like if you consistently put forth action every single day, hopefully it will pay off, or it will pay off. It will pay off.
Yeah, and something I want to add to that, there's like 10 things I'm like, oh, I should say this, this, and this. But I think the biggest ones are that, like, how do you want to be remembered a year from today? We're back here on this podcast, or you're back, maybe we're still inside. Maybe we're not able to go outside yet. The literal seeds that you plant today are going to be the ones that bloom 6 months or 8 months or 12 months from now. And I made the mistake even this year of thinking that, hey, if I just plant a bunch of seeds in March, they're going to bloom in April. Like, no, that's not how seeds work. March is the busiest time of the year for farmers. It's because they plant all their seeds. But farmers don't expect to pick the fruit within 3 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks. It's that love, that nurture, that water, that sunlight, it's insane. And I think like business owners, we want to plant seeds and we want to pick the fruit within like 24 hours, or we change our ad, or we change our thing because it's not working or the tactic's not there. And like, there's this really good book called The Happiness Equation, and it talks about how we wait for motivation. I'm not motivated to do 100 burpees today. Like, I'm really not, because what kind of a person would be motivated by that? But once I do the first one, I've already started that law of action. Like I've already begun. Then 1 turns to 2, turns to 3 and 4. And like 100 burpees sucks. I've never enjoyed doing 100 burpees, but after every session, I'm like, oh, I know I could do it. I just got to put on a podcast and like, just go. Right. So like, don't wait for motivation to hit you in a book, or for it to hit you on a podcast, or for it, like, do. Action will trump motivation 8 days out of the week.
Love it. I love that so much. Motivation is so huge. We talk about that all the time, not only for business, but also, again, just for health and wellness. I know Yasmin and I, we always talk about that. I'm like, I don't feel motivated today, but it's not about motivation. It's about just taking action. And I kind of want to share a little bit of a personal story really quick, just because of what you said ignited this memory in me. But
I love it.
My husband and I, when we first started dating, like you always talk about the future and you talk about what your life is going to look like. And I said to him one day, like, how do you know? And by the way, my husband is really wise and you'll know with what I'm about to say. But I said to him, how do you know that you're going to love me forever? Big question, right? And he said, love is an action and I'm going to put it forth every single day. And I was like, ding, ding, ding. You're the one. Sold. But I think that's true for anything, right? Motivation, accountability, like love, business. If you put forth the action every single day, it will exist. It will be there. It will be present in your life, So I love what you're saying. I feel like anybody can relate to it. And I feel like especially anybody who's building an online business, it's like, whenever you're starting something new, there is so much analysis paralysis. There's so much that gets in the way of action. And if we just put all of that aside and just started, what a world of a difference it would make for your business.
I'm going to challenge you.
Yes.
And even you, Yasmin, to something. And if someone's really feeling gutsy who's listening, I'm going to challenge you too. So think about a loved one in your life, whether it's a partner, whether it's a parent, whether it's a sibling, or whether it's a customer. Pick someone. And if it's your partner, I encourage you to get like a sticky note and just say something really nice about that person and leave it in the middle of their laptop. So when they see it the next day, they're going to be like, what? You did this? And the next thing I encourage everyone to do is today, please, like handwrite somebody a letter, talking to them about the difference that they've made in your life, or thanking them for something that they did for you, the sacrifices, or thanking them for just gratitude, or remember that time when, or I'm so grateful that that one summer I'll never forget, something like that. Go make their day. I guarantee you it is the best investment you can make is when you just show up with action. So to your husband's point, it is genius. I can talk all day long about how I'm going to do this, how I'm going to do that, and let me show the world. But if I'm just sitting on my couch watching Netflix or Tiger King, like none of that matters.
I love the Post-it. I do that actually with my husband, which is awesome. And I get notes from him. He also does shift work. So it's like the best form of communication.
Perfect.
And just knowing that, you know, we're talking to each other and the acknowledgement. But I love that note about, you know, sending a personalized message to somebody who you love. It makes such a great difference.
I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to send you a picture of it.
Send it to me, please. I sent my parents individual letters last week. They both called me crying.
Oh, so
That's
sweet.
beautiful.
I send it to clients. I literally send it to clients when I'm traveling for work. Hey, I'm in Denver right now for this conference. Thinking of you. Thank you so much for putting your trust in me, for allowing me to be here.
That's beautiful.
Send it to 20 clients. And it's like, what? You're in Denver at a work conference and you thought about me? Yeah, because you're important to me.
Amazing. So much amazing takeaways. I can't even thank you enough. There's just been so much amazing wisdom, and I just feel like we could talk forever. I want to take it back to, that human connection. A lot of the questions that we get is, or, the challenges that we've went through ourselves is, writing copy and staying human when you're writing that copy, and then also creating videos to support that, but still being yourself, and it's like, how do you do that when you're somebody who's not necessarily comfortable being on camera or comfortable writing copy? How do you, again, put yourself out there? I feel like we're asking the similar questions over and over again.
You just brought up a really good point.
Important.
And, talk about I know in business and entrepreneurship, we're like, what's the hack? What's the thing? Replace every single copy that you have or text that starts with we or us about you. Change it. Just change it. We are this company. This is what we do. This is why you should trust us. This is why we are rock stars. Look at our logos. Again, we, right? Even in our language. Thank you for signing up to our newsletter. This is who we are. This is what we do. It's all about us. Turn that. Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit more about a time you blank. What is the thing that keeps you up at night? What is the thing that led you here today? If we were to have this conversation a year from today, how amazing, what do you want to happen in your life? And you just reframe that language. And whether you're selling a service or a product, just replacing the language of we and us with you and thanking people is a complete game changer.
I feel like, we've come to the sort of the end of this podcast. We've been talking for over an hour now. So I definitely want, if people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So jube.ca is probably the best place. If they want to email me directly, it's Karan@jube.ca. My Facebook group is relationshipscreatemagic.com. And that's really it. I'm pretty accessible online on Instagram and stuff. But I have a question for both of you before we wrap.
Yes,
and
let's do it.
Who's going to answer it first?
I'll go first, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie's first. And then same question to Yasmin, but you're going to have a bit of a second to think about it.
Yeah, maybe I'll just plug my ears for a second.
No, it's all good. So fast forward 50 years from now. All of your videos, your podcasts, your articles, your email list, your social presence is all wiped. No one knows who you are anymore. And it's your last day on this planet. But there's this billboard that the entire world gets to see when they wake up tomorrow morning. And you have the marker. What's the message you want to leave with the world?
Wow. Before I answer that question, I just want to say that I had so many images come to my mind when you were asking me this question. And obviously the first thing is my family, and it's my daughter and my husband.
Imagine all of that is taken care of.
Yeah.
This is
what
they
are feel
the
loved
truest,
and they have everything they need. Yeah. I think that I would want that billboard to say something along the lines of, are we talking about me past tense? There was love, there was space to learn, and space to grow. And I think that if I had to do deduce my life to anything is that I would want it to be that way, a space of love and growth, and to be a vessel of growth to others. And I don't know if you can write that. I need to work on my sales copy for my billboard, but that's what I would want it to look like.
Okay, I love it. What about you, Yasmin?
Yeah, I think the first thing that came to my mind was don't overthink it. Literally, like, be you, you're enough. Like, that's all. Because I think we're just always hustling and going about it. And it's like that whole idea of like, am I doing enough? Is this enough? Like all that work that I did, it's all wiped out. Who fucking cares? Sorry, excuse my language, but like you are enough and your being is enough, and don't overthink it and just be.
I love it. I love yours.
You said just be. There's something else, Jube, just be.
Just be. Jube. Totally.
That's awesome. Amazing. And I know you're going to get a lot of video DMs after this. So.
Ooh, I can't wait for my first one.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karan. It was so amazing having you. It's such a pleasure to talk to, and you're definitely going to come back for more episodes. So we're really looking forward to that.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day. We'll talk to you soon.
You as well. Bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Course Creation Podcast. Thank you for tuning in and being a champion of ours. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit subscribe and find us on Apple Podcasts to leave us a review. We really want to hear from you. And we're going to be digging through reviews for our next guest to feature. So if you're interested in being a guest, then you know what to do. Also, join our private Facebook community called the Course Creation Crew to connect with other course creators. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at coursecreation.com. That is all. We appreciate you all so much and look forward to having you here next time.